This is not the 40th Live Science Minute.
No, this is Down the Rabbit Hole with David Batdorf.
10,000 years ago, we were building the pyramids, and those little guys, these little tiny monkey men kind of looking... So the kind of cross-hatching of greenery that goes through there, so there's this, it's kind of weird. Again, correlation does not equal causation. I really don't like this form of evidence. But then again, what do I know? Had him do jumping jacks, had him chase Chris back and forth over...
There may not be a video of me being chased through the woods by Bigfoot. Unless I'm sitting there standing next to the giant ape-like creature and I hear it make the sound while I'm looking at it, and I can tell that the sound is coming from it, not from a ventriloquist. Then I will know.
I believe in Bigfoot, but that might have been a ventriloquist making that sound.
Exactly.
So do we take the blue pill or the red pill tonight, David?
I gotta go with the red pill, Chris.
Alrighty, Roo. Here we go, motherfucker. Good evening, and welcome to the very first installment of Down the Rabbit Hole with David Batdorf. Good evening, David.
How's it going, Chris? Glad to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
David is actually coming to us from the past. He's 3 hours in the past. I'd like to tell you, David, the world's still turning 3 hours from now.
Well, that's good to know. Good to know. I actually like to be, in the past, so I know it's,
I still want to hold on to hope that Superman can fly around the Earth and make time go backwards, and somehow not bend the laws of physics and destroy all life on the planet.
Well, that was what the next thing is. That, of course, he destroys the entire planet by bending physics out of control, ripping fabric of space and time.
Now, David and I have been for a long time talking. Every so often, it's not like we get together on a nightly basis by any stretch of the imagination, but for a long time, every so often in Hangouts, talking online about just the most inane yet in-depth conversations about some of the weirdest shit. And I got thinking at one point in time, I was like, oh God, we should just fucking record this and throw it up, and who gives a fuck if anybody listens to it, because it's just fuck, we do it anyway.
Exactly, we're gonna do it anyway.
Sort of like what you say about doing the show with Jeff. I would say the Squatchers Lounge podcast, you're like, hey, we're gonna talk about this shit regardless, so why don't we just fucking record it?
Yeah, we actually have to stop talking about Sasquatch during the middle of the week, or the most of the week until we get to our show on Wednesday, so we have fresh topics to talk about, or else it just becomes boring.
Oh,
so we make sure
I can't
not talking about Sasquatch.
I can't count the number of times that Steve and I, or even when Matt was on the show, Steve and Matt and I had almost entire shows before the show. It happened more often than I could fucking tell you.
There was some good material that never made it to the actual show.
It would just, because it's hard to make that fresh again. And
it's very true.
People's reactions to it. There's a lot of times, I would try to tell stories. I wouldn't tell them anything, so that I could get their actual reactions to what was going on. And it's hard though. And so you wind up doing that, and you wind up having to hold back. And you and I actually got talking about the topic that we're going to discuss tonight in a hangout. It was almost like a week or so ago now. And we literally had to shut each other down. All right, yeah. All right, time to go. See you later.
That's the topic. That's the one we're doing. Okay.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
I felt like they were fucking, the music was coming on, to make me wrap up my speech at the Oscars. Shut the fuck up, Chris. It's time to just go to bed and do this when we can actually record it. So now, and once we had talked about it, you were like, all right, I'm down. I like this topic. And it kind of goes into a vein of science that you discuss quite a bit on your show, which is evolution.
Yeah, evolution and ecology and all that stuff is what really like, I don't know, it's kind of the bread and butter of the Sasquatch thing for me, I guess. But yeah, that's what I find myself gravitating towards for the scientific-y aspects of that. But no Sasquatch on tonight's show, my friend. We're going Sasquatch free. I need a break.
Right, exactly. And we had discussed at one point in time, because I really like multiple world theory. We had discussed going down that road. And I know, it's not something that you know quite a bit about. You are, you're fairly knowledgeable in a lot of areas. And if you did look into it, I would absolutely, want your take on the subject.
Yeah, I'd have to go a little bit further into some reading on that before I went did a whole podcast on it. But yeah, I'd be into it. It's an interesting topic for sure.
But I had brought up this idea because I got talking and thinking about this idea after seeing, and I've talked about this documentary, I think, a few times now. And if anybody has not seen this, I think it's really interesting. And that's this PBS documentary, I think it is, on the coy wolf. And this is a coyote wolf hybrid, and it only happens with a certain type of wolf, I do believe. There's only one type of wolf that can breed with the coyote successfully and create.
Yeah.
Right. So these, but these hybrids are actually taking hold. And they're either A, going off on their own, B, getting reconstituted into the wolf populations, or C, getting reconstituted into the coyote populations. So you have these three distinct, gene pools that are all intertwining. And the idea that I had put forward to you, and actually to a couple other people that I'd been bouncing around, was if fucking people disappear tomorrow, what's going to take over on the planet next? And my whole thing on that was not what's going to pick up fucking spoons and start eating dinner and watching TV and taking the fucking bus, but what is going to evolve to be the next big thing on the planet. And not necessarily big thing is in size. So my take on this is that I seriously think that canines have a good chance of being that next thing that runs the earth, and not by I mean like their finger on the button with nuclear weapons and shit, but being the top of the fucking food chain.
Yeah, what you have to remember is that nobody's going to, there's no species that's going to just take up where we left off. If we were wiped off the planet tomorrow or at any point, there's nothing that's just going to be like, oh, well, I'll just continue, making, mining coal to fuel energy to power this town. And then, no, that's not going to happen. What I always thought was interesting, though, is how, how the ecology works. Like how there was some recent it was on Gizmodo. There was somebody flew some drones into Chernobyl, and we're looking around, and everything's been overgrown, man, with the plant life and the plants and bacterial life is going to love us not being there. Because it has a chance to move in. We're not trimming the lawn. We're not, weeding the garden. We're just, and all of the stuff that we made, skyscrapers and everything, is going to break down. Nothing was meant to last.
And not in a very long period of time either.
No, it's amazing. I mean, I'm forgetting which year Chernobyl was, but looking at it now, I mean, it's creepy, man. Yeah. So if Gizmodo's got it up. There's something, if you look up drone plus Chernobyl, you'll find something at it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the thing that to take over, you think of just being like the apex predator or apex what is taking over. And the interesting thing about the dog thing is that all of these other resources bring up everything that so rodents are going to have better places to hide, birds are going to have better places to make their nests, the deers are going to have more things to eat, yada yada yada, like all of these things. Once we're gone, it's every animal for itself
and
again.
we have to make the distinction of this is like a hypothetical situation where all of a sudden people are just gone. Either a disease just wipes us out, or not like a disaster where like there's a big climactic thing that wipes out a lot of life. Like just us, we're gone.
Yeah, but something that breeds coyotes especially, and why the coy wolf is so interesting, because coyote is just the way that they breed and their intelligence and everything gives them kind of a one-up on the gray wolf. But the gray wolf has that size and stamina, so it's like it creates the super dog, right? And that's something that could happen much better without us here, and that's how that sort of accelerated evolution works. There's these points where something like that happens. They create a pocket, where there are no wolves. There's no gray wolves. There's no eastern coyote. There's just these coy wolves, because eventually they've just bred all together and kind of mixed up enough to make this good, nice, unique mutt.
Which is what's going to happen with the whole group of them, because that's what they're doing.
That's what we're doing now. I think statistically, you can't really sort of like. So here's the perfect analog. For the coy wolf, we'll just say is like modern Homo sapiens sapiens, right? Like so. What's going to happen is that there's going to be this hybrid population, and statistically, it can't sustain itself, because eventually the northern gray wolf and the eastern gray wolf and the eastern coyote are going to. I mean, that gene pool is going to kind of reuptake both of those, and they'll become the distinct species again. But the genetic material passed from the coyote to the wolf, and the wolf to the coyote is always going to be there. That's why I have up to like 4% Neanderthal DNA in me today, is because that's always going to be there where that mixing happened. But statistically, it's really hard to make that forever. But that's the sort of thing that now there's pieces of both species in the parent population in this area too, which is really interesting. And that's how, like I say, some of those rapid changes can occur. And the fact that dogs can breed so easily and
adapt. And here's the interesting thing though that I saw when I watched the documentary. Not only are, like you were saying, the genes being passed into the wolf population, into the coyote population, they're remaining those species with that, those extra genes over time. But there's also these hybrid coy wolves that are actually taking hold and having their own populations as well.
Which is when somebody who likes, it would be the first look at like sexual evolution. If that works out, if that survival of the fittest, if that is the best solution to that area's problem, which is a pretty urban area and it's got some issues on. Okay, the gray wolf doesn't fit here because it's because there's too many people, and the coyote doesn't fit here because maybe it's too north. I don't I haven't looked into that part of the study, but there's a probability that is just the best solution, which is why that they stayed there. And that's exactly how sexual evolution, the thing that people take out of the equation in evolution, they think that it's just like, molded clay, it becomes something and something else. Like, no, it's sex. That's how this works.
Yeah, it doesn't go in these jumps like people think.
Yeah.
It's more it's more of a very smooth amalgamation of this constant hybridization, or this reuptake of these mutated genes.
Yeah, and mate selection and preference and all those other things. But when we do see those weird quick movements in evolution where it's like, oh, this is unexplainable. Maybe it's not the Anunnaki. Maybe it's just two different species were able to create a viable species, and that was the right thing at that time. It's an interesting question to pose, and that's why the koi wolf is not just cool because it's a potentially a new canid species. It's cool because it kind of it's a perfect analogy for questions that we've had in the past too.
Well, the things that I really liked about this documentary, beyond the fact that it was able to create its own viable population, how adaptable this creature is. It's big enough to be able to take down your big prey or defend itself if needed be, and it's also, you know, able to hunt small prey if need be to survive. They can adapt by staying in urban environments and living amongst people without being seen very easily. And they can live out in the middle of nowhere where there are no people. And they do just fine in either fucking location. It doesn't.
That's the interesting thing. They have the large bodies to survive, you know, the harsher forest climates and even like montane climates like a wolf can, and they have the brains to be able to figure out the problem solve and figure out how they need to live in these urban situations. It's crazy.
And that's what I see, and like we were saying, if the people disappear, if people fucking are wiped out, like I said, you know, Captain Trips, Stephen King was right, some shit like that, you know, but everybody's fucking gone. And I was telling you the night we started talking about this, all of those domesticated dogs as well are going to be the ones that survive and are strong enough, and aren't, you know, like hitched up and, you know, or die on a fucking leash somewhere or run, or, you know, the ones that make it out into the populations, they're going to pass on the genes that made them strong enough to survive that. That'll get pushed into those gene pools as well. It's just all going to be this big fucking pot. Because that's what we do as creatures on this planet. We fuck. We pass on our genes to the next thing so that it can fuck something to pass its genes on. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, and people, like, again, I think that people forget that about evolution. It's like, no, this is a completely, like, it's undersexualized scientifically. It's like, oh, well, this is the right. No, it's because that baboon over there thought that baboon over there was more worth fucking than that one. That's why that baboon
exactly. But people think, like, all of a sudden, like, the baboon spat out a human.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there were humans. No, that's not, and obviously it didn't go in that direction anyway. But the point is still valid. Whatever came before didn't just spit out a fucking human being.
Yeah. And so but think what else is there? Like, and maybe we're thinking a little bit too close to home in just like North America, but really, what else is there to really take over? I mean, I could see, like, I mean, the macaques in India and stuff would have a field day with empty cities.
I don't foresee any type of large predator like bears taking complete control. They can't. I don't see them. I don't see it as viable. They'll flourish, but I don't think they're gonna go crazy, you know, as far as not evolving but taking over. Like we were saying, it's not so much, you know, what's going to be the next thing to ride the bus, but what's going to be the next thing to be the thing that really has control of the planet.
Yeah. And
with these koi wolves, the interesting thing is they're in packs, which dogs generally run in packs anyway. It's their mindset. It's what their instinct, you know, that's how they live. In packs, they can take down large animals. They can, like I said, they can do everything that they would need to do to be that apex predator. And I don't think the intermixing with coyotes is ruining anything. It's just making the dog sleeker. It's making the dog more intelligent, more able to problem solve. And I seriously think there are going to be some damn intelligent canines if this sort of situation was to go down. I think it's eventually going to happen anyway. Out in the wild, I think they're going to get to a really decent intelligence.
Oh, especially, I think that there's so many species like the dogs that have to contend with us and have to keep up with us. Like the ones that live a symbiotic relationship. People think that rats are really stupid. Well, they really have devised a really great mechanism for living off of us. Pigeons and crows. And other things like that. There's a direct intelligence to them having to deal with us and to steer clear of us and to do all of these other things that the larger eastern gray wolf doesn't have to deal with on a regular basis, where the coyote does, and that sort of drives that part of the evolution. But without us, if we're just all of a sudden gone and there's all this real estate, and when things start to break down and there's more places to hide, there's more places to grow stuff, but still, I tended to agree with you. Like, at least in North America, there's just, if you walked out onto the plains, because there are no humans, as an alien visitor, let's say, a traveler from the past, damn you blew it up.
Get your hands off me, you damn dirty dog.
So you'd end up basically probably being the most worried about large packs of dogs in North America.
Yeah,
unless Sasquatch made
I think that that's the way it would go down. I honestly think that's the way it would go down. And like you're saying, especially here, I don't know so much about because I'm not from there. Some of the other countries, but I think that that's a very probable option, let's just say.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people
for what's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of people would think, well, wouldn't you just go to our great ape cousins, like the orangutan and the chimpanzee, coming and stepping out of the woods and being like,
Yeah, but where the fuck are they? Where the fuck are they in North America though, or even South America for that matter?
Yeah, they're not. But even thinking globally, what would take over, and they're still going to be stuck in the forest where they're stuck now, and it's going to take them millions of years to get out of there, because it took us millions of years to get out of there.
Well,
right?
here's the other thing too, and I wanted to bring this up as well. So many times I've had arguments with people about evolution, and they instantly go to, well, how come fucking chimpanzees haven't how come they're still in the trees? How come they haven't evolved? And it's like, because they evolved to be in the woods. We evolved down a different path. They evolved to be where they need to be. So, like you were saying, for them to evolve to a state like we got to as Homo sapiens, they're not on that path, really.
They'd have to undo 6 million years of their divergent evolution and then get back on track with us.
Right, and then because they went down a different fucking path to live in the trees.
At one point, very much different from us and very much different from a chimpanzee, but we were the same thing, and that thing is more similar to a chimpanzee than to us, and more similar to us than a chimpanzee. Okay, well
doesn't that sound fucked up?
Doesn't we need to bring this back to elementary school or whatnot? But there are people that do. They argue that it's like, I didn't descend from no chimp. It's like, no, you did not.
No, you descended from something else.
Chimpanzee has also been evolving since our last common ancestor. Good for you.
So that's where I think it's very interesting. Like, you and I were having this discussion about human DNA, and you actually touched on it earlier. The whole that's why we have 4% whatever Neanderthal DNA and some other fucking thing. Who knows what it is? But that is what's going to happen with these dog populations, these canine populations. Eventually, they're going to be just this big fucking mix. And whatever comes out of that, whatever survives, and not in a solitary way, in a pack-like society, as dogs use, and that's what I'm saying. It would have to be something like that. It couldn't be any type of, if the dogs somehow evolved into like a loner lifestyle, and I'm not aware of, right off the top of my head, of any that live in that kind of way. They're more pack related. They live more in packs.
Yeah, aside from the like temporarily a lone male, if you will,
Right, exactly. So I see that, whatever comes out of that, as the next apex predator if we're gone.
Oh yeah, imagine they have like I'm talking about this there's this upwelling of resources. There's all this good flourish of stuff that basically comes out of the decay of the human civilization, if you will, and then all of a sudden all these all these canines, whether it's coy wolves up there, like coyotes in particular, I think, but could you imagine a pack of like 50 coyotes? It'd be unstoppable.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing, their fucking food,
they'd have to eat and eat and eat.
Their food sources would be almost unlimited in that type of a situation.
Yeah, without us, I mean, they would need, and there would be the ebb and flow, as
Well, I think they won't have nearly as much of that ebb and flow though, because of their ability to hunt large and small prey, large, small, and medium-sized prey. They can hunt, the large deer. They can hunt small animals, rodents, whatever, if they need be. They can hunt other animals around their size. They're fucking, a la carte is, it's fucking pretty much open.
Yeah, but that would be the thing that I would be the most terrified of. I'm thinking like the unstoppable force in North America would be just like a huge pack of wild dogs would just be unstoppable pretty much. Especially like even people always do this life after people thing, and then they come up with some sort of hypothetical, like, well, what if all people were okay? Well, let's just say like if it were disease, if it were this, that, or the other. I don't think you could wipe out all people, but it would wipe out the entire infrastructure that we live in, and those people would be thrown back into the Stone Age, basically, scavenging off of what technology. I mean, technology wouldn't even work, but like, the technology is meaning like a knife versus a pointed stick, right? Scavenging off of what you could find, and using the decay of civilization, and they wouldn't last for very long because it couldn't breed, but they would be it would be totally nonplussed to everything else that we're talking about, even if people were still alive, unless it was in the capacity that we are now, with all of the technology, all of the energy, and all of everything has to flow and be like it is, or else this happens, even if we're still here.
Right. Even if there are small pockets of population of people that survive some type of an apocalypse, you're still going to have that surge of everything else.
And then those people got to deal with packs of 50 coyotes.
Fucking right, man. I'm telling you what, when we were out on the Brown property and we heard those coyotes up close. Now, I personally, I've heard coyotes many, many times out here. I'll let the dogs out late at night, and sometimes I'll literally walk out onto the porch, and as soon as my ears adjust and I hear them, I'm like snapping my fingers like, get the fuck in the house now, because I don't even want to fuck around with it. And I'll hear them. There's a field that's adjacent to the property that we live on. It's kind of like across the road, but kind of right there, and I can hear them just fucking yipping away. And when we were up on the Brown property and we heard them there, my wife had she got really fucking scared. She she was we were talking about it recently, and she's like, I was hanging off of Jonathan's arm, and I was like, you got a gun. Because I guess I don't remember it either. I guess I had walked off with Phil when we heard everything going down, because we were trying to figure out what the fuck the other footsteps we were hearing were.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just, thought it was interesting because she's lived here her whole life too, and she'd never heard them. But I go outside all the time, and I'll hear them because I'm out late at night, letting the dogs out. But
that one it was like 30 feet away. It was right there.
That was extremely close. But and Jeff talks all the time about shooting the fucking things, and hey, so be it. I tend to agree, I guess. But I still think that they're a fucking adaptable animal that has a really good chance of being, like I said, the next thing. And I hate to stress it, and shove it down people's throats, but I don't mean the next thing to fucking watch TV and make movies and, play on the fucking computer. I mean the next thing to just be on top, eating everything else. That's what I mean. The next fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah. when dogs roam the earth. No, I think that's because of everything else. It's already that has disappeared in some of the large, quote unquote super predators. I don't even think in a situation like that, with the flourishing of the vegetation that's going to happen, because we came and we mowed down all the forests. We opened up everything. Some of it's grown back, some of it hasn't, but everything that hasn't is open to light and can grow food. That's why we did it, right? So deer will be dropping, twins and triplets, because it's like, oh my God, this is amazing.
There's food everywhere.
for generations. So that's why I think that, the dogs coming up could sustain itself where it probably wasn't viable back in the day when, the wolves were on top, but they were keeping the coyotes down and like it just all that stuff. There's so much.
If that interbreeding continues, David, that's going to go away. Like there won't be any of that wolves keeping the coyotes down or the coyotes fucking with the wolves. It'll just be one thing.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about the situation and the interbreeding and what's possible. So the eastern coyote is different from the western coyote. They can still interbreed.
Right.
The eastern gray wolf is different from the western gray wolf.
Correct.
And they can still interbreed. The eastern coyote cannot breed with the western gray wolf, and the western coyote cannot breed with the western gray wolf. Only the eastern coyotes and the eastern gray wolves can intermix and breed together. So it would have to radiate out from that point, which is a very specific point. It's like where the gray wolves come down from Canada and the eastern coyote kind of come up, because eastern coyotes are just typically bigger than the western coyotes anyway.
Right.
Which is probably why they're more closely related, or I don't know. Not why, but because they're more closely related, that's probably why. Closely related enough to still have viable offspring, but that'll be crazy. To watch that is like to watch evolution unfold before your eyes in real time. It's crazy.
Oh man, could you imagine a time lapse of evolution? Like a real time, it'd be almost an impossible thing to see. But what a cool fucking thing that would be.
Yeah.
Just from beginning to end, where you see the little fucking thing walk out of the ocean, or whatever fucking thing walked out of the ocean first, that fucking primordial sea, up to now, all the radiating arms, where everything went, all the things that came and died off that we've never even fucking found. Oh, God, that'd be fucking so cool. Just
It would be crazy. Every 10 seconds, it'd be like 10,000 years, and it would last for 10 days. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna do my quick math isn't working for me here.
That would
That
would be a fucked up time lapse.
Yeah.
I think we should get Dread Fun on that now.
Dread Fun. Animate this.
Dread Fun. We need a time lapse of evolution from beginning to end, and you need to get it right.
And go.
Fucking guy's head would just explode. But yeah, no, I love these types of topics, David, and like I said, you and I had talked about these different things all the time anyway, and I had run this idea of doing this thing every so often. I don't want anybody to think like David and I are gonna like hang out once a week and do a fucking show now. It's just a one-offs here and there where we get an idea that really sparks a fucking interest in the both of us of what something we can really delve into. And David and I both tend to fucking trip over our own words when we're thinking, and fucking I thought it would work out well, and I don't know what the people will think of it, but I hope that everybody fucking likes it. As far as the regular listeners, as far as everybody else is concerned, hey, if you like it, cool. But this fucking one topic, I have literally sat around and talked with people about a lot, and I wanted to throw the idea of it out there, because I'm a dog person anyway. Like, I love my dogs. Fucking
super duper dog person right here. I don't have one currently, but that's going to change soon again.
Yeah, so. I've got 3 of them. I've got a Border Collie, Australian Shepherd mix. I've got a Rottweiler, Mastiff, English Mastiff mix, and I've got a Cocker Spaniel too, who's deaf, and she irritates the piss out of me. But she's got a cute face, to her credit. But I'm a dog person, and after seeing that Coy Wolf documentary, it really got me thinking about, because they talked a lot about the breeding and the evolution of this creature and where it could go in the future, and how really adaptable it is to living amongst people as well as living out in the quote unquote wilds. And I just really fucking loved the idea of that. And, you especially were one of the first people I fucking thought of, because I'm like, David talks about fucking breeding and evolution all the goddamn time. And shit.
Well, and the Coy Wolf topic, I've been watching that for a long time, because it's the more information that we have, the bigger it seems like it actually is. Because and they talk about it in this study, like coyotes are notoriously difficult to freaking study. Like you can't just walk out and be like, okay, here's a coyote den. You have to dig through the 5 other dens that they used in the last, it's nuts.
They collared coyotes in, I think it was Chicago, or the Chicago area, and they had them radio collared, and they still couldn't fucking find the goddamn things. They could get close.
In Chicago, they're driving up and down in between houses and alleyways, right? Like just neighborhoods, kids' bikes out on the lawn, right? They can't find a coyote here. That's crazy.
With a fucking radio collar on it.
Yeah, and then sitting with an antenna going, oh, it's right over there. Where?
Oh, over there. Oh, there it is. And then they're fucking chasing it down the fucking, but they can't get close. They really have a hard time getting close to him. And I found the whole fucking thing just so goddamn cool.
There was another study, just randomly I'm thinking of right now, that was done up in Alaska, and the people who were running that study on coyotes saying it was ridiculous the lengths that they had to go through to catch and that you couldn't track or find, or you couldn't see a coyote up in this area, so they had to set up traps. But to set up the traps, they had to go in clean suits, and they had to spray everything down with vinegar, and they had to get the human scent off of it so that they would go in and get the meat, because deep in the woods in Alaska, the scent of a human is still like, no, no, no. I don't care how juicy that steak looks. I'm not going in. And they went to these ridiculous lengths, and they never caught one.
Well, the other thing that they were saying in the PBS documentary is that as long as these coy wolves keep that fear of man, that I need to stay away from them, as long as they can keep that, then they'll do very well.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute that starts to break down, that, you know, that, oh, I can, you know, oh, these people might be okay, where they start interacting and then, you know, they start fucking with people, that's where it's going to become a problem. And it's that instinct, if that goes away, that instinct to fear people, that might ruin their chances.
So
at least that's
don't feed the coy wolf.
Yeah, don't fucking think that you're, you know, being a part of nature. You know, you're not fucking connecting with Mother Earth if you're feeding the fucking coy wolf or coyote for that matter.
Canis unfamiliaris.
Yeah,
should be that way.
That fucking thing. But
for their sake, anyway.
Yeah, they are interesting animals, and they deserve a little bit of research, I think.
Yeah,
they deserve a lot of research, but as you know as well as I do, David, a lot of these things don't get the attention that they deserve. Or the proper attention that they deserve. Yeah, we were talking with one of your favorite people the other night, Jay Cooney.
Yes.
And he brought up, we asked him the proverbial Bigfoot question because he's, as of late, kind of took a step back from that whole thing. But I love his take on it, that there needs to be real research. And he's like, Bigfoot needs to be peer-reviewed. Period. That's what it needs.
Yeah, well, but again, you know, cart before the horse. Bigfoot research needs a complete dynamiting, and we need to figure out how to do field research and what field research is and what wildlife biology is if we're going to get to the process to where we can submit something for peer review. Because just going out looking for tracks and looking for scat is one thing. If you find something, knowing how to document that to share with other people is something completely different.
Right. But this, and not to like go down that whole road, because I know you wanted to break from that tonight, but that whole thing, that's kind of a microcosm of what I'm talking about, in that it's amazing to me that there's all this enthusiasm for this thing, but there's no real research. And there's all of these real creatures out there that deserve real research that barely get any. And so much just bullshit research is focused on other shit. But
well, yeah, part of the problem with the lack of research is that with the lack of research and people making up their own minds and looking into, you know, looking at social networks for their news and their science news, it can create a lot of fear where there doesn't need to be any fear. You know, the coy wolf is no more like a threat than a coyote or a wolf, which the attacks of coyotes and wolves in your area, Chris, is probably about the same as mine, which is like if you put chickens outside at night, they might come around, right? You know,
right,
like,
yeah. You're not hearing about people getting killed by fucking coyotes and wolves all the time.
Or ever. Like, very seldom. Like, yeah, there might be some old story from like '06 of some guy getting eaten by a pack of wolves, right?
I do believe that they brought up in that documentary that there was an instance within like the past 10 years or so where a pack of coyotes went after a person.
Yes, and I think which is something that you need to worry about, which is why they're studying urban coyotes, because they're trying to figure out where they're living, what they're doing, and why. And there's two things that you want to do. You want to decide if the population that's there is a nuisance population, or what are the resources that they're utilizing, and continuing to make sure that you create enough resource so that they don't have to start becoming a nuisance to get what they need. I guess is the idea of those studies at a really basic point. But yeah, I mean, like, okay, it happens. Yes, we all know that there's the videos on YouTube of coyotes attacking this, that, and the other, but it doesn't happen very often enough in most areas. I have a pack that lives in the green belt behind my house. I live in a rural area. I like in town. I mean, there's a grocery store right down the street, right? But there's coyotes that live right behind my house. We don't have a lot of issues. I don't let my cats out at night, because that would be stupid.
I don't let my dogs run out at night. I don't, when you live around these types of creatures, you learn to, I guess, and you had brought it up one time with the mountain lions, I think it is. Oh, is it the mountain lions out your way? I can't remember what they're fucking called. And the fact that when you live with these types of creatures, and you go out in their environments, you have to know how to fucking be. You have to know how to present yourself in their world. And how it's, so that they know enough to say, oh, well, hey, I need to stay the fuck away from him.
Yeah, and up here, I think what we were talking about is that it's always people like mountain bikers or runners that have and they're pretty much like fake attacks. They it's like a cat. You throw a mouse across the floor and they got to go after it, right?
Yeah.
Like that, but that's the prey instinct. It's like the same reason why you don't bring a dog into your house that has a huge prey drive if you have cats, because there's going to be a problem. So. What's the solution? Not a mountain bike or not hike there? No, but maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't happen that often, and when it does, it's not usually with serious consequences. Here, I know that serious consequences can happen, but knowing what to do in those circumstances where there is an attack, which is basically just stop and act big, and you're big.
Yeah, we have them here as well. I don't know if the populations are anywhere as near what you have in your area, but we have a lot of black bear, and I've been started hiking, when I was in high school, so before I was 18, and I haven't hiked much in the past couple of years. A, because I've been busy. B, because my back's been fucked. But I really want to try to get back in shape and get my ass back out there. But I think I've run into, and I never saw the fucking thing, so I don't even know if it was or not. But I believe I've run into one bear, and I believe I ran into one moose. And I was more afraid of the moose than I was the bear. Because if you know anything about them, they're far more likely to fucking fuck with you than a bear if you run into them. Especially during certain times of the year. So, I just know enough to how to be make you fucking talk. I've never really hiked by myself. I had planned on it once, but I usually have always gone with somebody. I almost always have a dog with me, and you're always talking, making noise. Try to announce your fucking presence when you're out there, because the fucking animals will take notice. But
most of them want to avoid people making the sounds that you're making. So
right, because that's what they're used to doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think, because granted, when we say people are going to disappear, we don't think that people are going to disappear tomorrow. This is an idea, a hypothetical idea in our fantastical fucking minds of shit that we like to talk about. But this brings up those questions of how do we, as people, adapt to these creatures that are definitely going to adapt to us. and the coy wolf is one of them.
Exactly. Well, coyotes, crows, rats. I've kind of brought up a few of those already. That they are constantly adapting to us and our changes. I mean, they came over on ships on the Mayflower and adapted to the Industrial Revolution, and now the technological revolution. Like, rats don't give a fuck. They'll just do whatever. We go up. They're looking at iPads now. Let's go with it. All right, sweet.
Fuck it. Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. They're adapting to our cultural evolution just as easily as anything else. But the interesting thing would be to turn the table, and could we adapt to like, say, all of a sudden dogs, wild dogs, coyotes, wolves, and everything were prevalent. Could we adapt to live with that? And the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly. If the tables are turned and for some reason we're not in the situation that we're in now, yeah, we're fucked. I honestly think we're fucked. But it just brings, like I said, it brings us back to those ideas of we should definitely not be feeding the fucking wild animals. Wild animals are wild for a reason. They're wild.
And it's beautiful that they're wild. I mean, we have domesticated animals for a reason, so that we can enjoy our domesticated animals. Now, we also can enjoy beautiful wild animals for being wild. But don't let your cat out at night into a forest full of coyotes and then get mad because the coyotes ate your cat.
Yeah, because that's fucked. But yeah, David, I think we've fucking driven it into the ground enough tonight.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
Fantastic. I do want to try and do this again with you at some point in time. I don't know what the next topic would be. We'll definitely have to discuss it, figure out something that sparks us again, because this, like I said, this was one of those topics where I knew you would be on board with at least talking about it. Forget about, whether or not it would be a good topic for us to talk about. I kind of knew that as well. But I was like, oh, fucking Life After Man. Fucking this is right up David's fucking alley. So, but yeah, so next time I don't know what we'll wind up doing, but we'll fucking figure it out.
Absolutely.
This has been Down the Rabbit Hole with David Batdorf. I'm going to continue down the rabbit hole with the glass pipe next to me. Much like the caterpillar, David. David's like, oh, doesn't know the protocol for the end of the show on this end.
Oh man, yeah, I'm supposed to just shut up and let it ride out. Come check me out on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. It'll be good.
Yes, definitely do that, people.